Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Aged Out Reacts with the two hosts of the Aged Out podcast, Michael Fantini and
Evan Worrell.
And today, I believe, is our final true reaction video of our DCI 2023 coverage for this season. Finally getting around to doing Phantom Regiment. We waited for a good video of them to pop up for a good portion of the season. But before we jump into that, comment, like, subscribe. Let us know what you think on our opinions or what you just think of Phantom this past summer. And this video belongs to Innovative Percussion. Make sure you go subscribe to their YouTube channel. The original video without us talking over it and talking about it is in the video description. Please go support them and any other content creator that takes and produces lot videos out there on YouTube for all of us to enjoy.
Definitely.
Follow on Facebook and Instagram, Aged Out Podcast, as well as hit the join button on YouTube or go to patreon.com/Aged Out Podcast if you want to support us financially at all. But the viewership is appreciated, as we say all the time. It still blows our mind. People like to listen to us talk about this stuff. So, I feel like Phantom just solidly sat in the middle of the pack all season. And every time I watched the show multiple times on Flow streams, checking everybody out throughout the season, and they just were.
Yeah, a lot of the overhauls they made in the off season definitely seemed to pay off. Design team all the way down, bringing JD Shaw back in was pretty clutch. Obviously an improvement. Matt Penland in the team. I think Tyler writes the front. I don't remember his last name.
It's not coming to me either right now. Somebody let us know in the comments.
I'll look it up here while we're chatting. But yeah, a lot of the moves really paid off for them. Changing it up, just kind of a revitalization of the core. So kudos to them.
And I gotta say, I gotta think the core, board of directors, or whoever sets the staff, core director, whoever hires the staff, and gave Penland and team the chance to do everything. I gotta imagine they're probably pretty satisfied with the season.
Tyler Salmons.
There it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta think they're probably pretty satisfied with the hire. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure. Especially year one having success.
We heard rumors of light on membership that showed up to even audition for the percussion section, and I think the approach, which we'll talk about as we watch them here in a second, really
I don't feel like we have to call it rumors. We definitely heard from the staff that there was an underwhelming
amount of
original
people,
just amount of people at the original
at the first November camp. Well,
yeah.
Evan's more blunt than I am, so
I mean,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
A staff member told us that.
I'm all about it. So
obviously, that worked out.
Yeah, they've definitely ended up having a solid season. I think the way they wrote and designed the package, the arrangement of the book made sense. They kind of did some harder stuff when they needed to, when they were exposed, and you'll see throughout this video, I feel like there's a lot of moments where you're like, yeah, they're probably behind the back hash right there, being the metronome on the field, and it works. And they were competitive all year within that second tier of percussion sections. So yeah, I think it's nothing but congratulations to the staff. But let's check them out. We got a 5-minute video from IP here. Again, go subscribe to their channel and check out the original video.
For sure.
That intro might have been super loud for everybody else. Apologies.
It's all right. Surround sound.
There we go.
This was a really cool texture. Unfortunately, I feel like not a lot of people heard it if you just watch the show because of where they started the show geographically.
Yep. I think those are ribbon crashers on the snare drums. I wore those all summer in 10. They sucked.
So I think the quads carry these little planks, these queer row planks or whatever you want to call them, around all summer.
Right there.
They're doing the little scrape texture, which is really cool, and the just isolated hand-to-hand left and right, but you probably never heard it from the stands.
No, probably not, but it gave time to the core, I'm sure, and honestly, listening to it in a lot, there's a lot of interesting just rhythms and textures and interplay within the bass line and the ribbon crasher and the snare drum sound, and then
we'll go back and just listen there a little bit.
Yeah, I'll rewind and we'll kind of just take it in for a second or two.
Hand independence was the phrase I was looking for there.
There you go.
Yeah, just really setting the stage for the show. I remember as they started and came across.
Good little one. Oh, nice triplet rolls there into the cross stick.
Good tasty bass writing.
I'm going to point something out because I have experience with this. Those ribbon crashers the snare drums have on their drums, it is a lot harder to come on and off of that and push forward and back and like play the downbeat of a paradiddle and the rest of it on the drum, like to move geography like that in the playing setup. So the fact that this sounds as crispy as it kind of does throughout all this, all the credit to that, because I know personally how much we had to work on moving to and coming off of those ribbon crashers really quickly within phrases.
I mean, I've never played on one, but I would imagine that the rebound off those is pretty dead.
It's non-existent. Your hands got to get used to going from almost no bounce back to a drum head and back to no bounce, like at the drop of a hat. So good job by them by pulling that off and making that sound happen.
It's very delicate writing.
Mm-hmm. Pass it over right into the bass line.
Nice roll. The puffies.
Yeah, just this crazy, just delicate, interesting,
very
interesting
subdued,
section.
A very reserved opening. Little rub on the reattack
the
at the top
paradiddle, yeah, in the middle of that roll. But the roll itself was good going into it.
Muse track.
Good spot roll under the snare drum bit. Big rhythms. Yep. Really doing a good job holding onto the sticks, placing these figures at the slower tempo.
Well, so pause. We'll go back a little bit. So I was just thinking so far, I was like, so we're about 2 minutes into this and not like a ton of velocity yet. But then like immediate style shift and we, tempo
the quad started
change,
going crazy a little bit.
So I was like, all right, it's time.
Yep.
And then it happened.
We've arrived.
Very obvious density change. Good
it's
on
like
the
egg
threes.
beater sevens.
Yeah.
Like egg beater 7 type deal. Like
if that's what they play at the deviled eggs, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Interesting with the right hand accent. Do.
Oh, that was really
good
cool.
bass
The
run in the
bass line,
space.
there was like a weird little like 5-stroke pickup in the bass line real quick. I'll also say the style of playing, thinking about who the staff is now, watching this is clearly Rennick influenced. I mean, Matt Penland marched for Rennick. I think
I get it more in the quads than anything.
Well, what I'm going to say here is, though, it's a more almost refined Rennick approach to playing the snare drum and the quads. I think the quads more so for sure look like a Rennick quad line in terms of approach to the drums, but it almost takes me back to like Rennick lines of 10 years ago, which is when all these people were marching for Rennick. It's a more aggressive approach than I feel like Rennick's groups take now to the instrument than they did a decade ago, or even like 08, Phantom 08, and those kind of lines. It almost feels like that and looks like that kind of an approach to the drum.
Yeah, I would say there's definitely more definition in the snare technique than what I usually feel like I witness visually
For sure.
from like Vanguard.
But I just remember us reacting to Phantom 08 and we were like, this is still Rennick, but it's just way more aggressive and like more velocity behind the strokes. And that's the vibe that I get from the approach that they've taken here. Or it comes off as that to me, at least.
Phantom 06. I don't think we reacted to 08.
Oh, you're right. It was 6. My bad.
Coming off the crasher, just a slight scratch.
Oh, that was cool.
Interesting. Yeah, that was. There's a lot of interplay.
I was about to say the same thing. A lot of quads and snares go back and forth a lot, but then he'll culminate a phrase in the writing. Sometimes within 2 or 3 counts, snares, then to quads, then back to snares. It'll come together very quickly, and then they play some unison figure to like climax the phrase almost. So it builds. Keeps you interested, then all of a sudden smacks you to finish the phrase.
Ooh, nice.
Those bass drum shots are cool in the middle of that. Yeah. Some inside fives or something. Yeah, very dynamic.
Woo!
Great control
Nice roll.
up and down on the rolls from the quads and the snares.
A lot of little like short bursts, like fast 7 strokes or PDDs.
Good open threes there too.
They play a lot of the dense stuff really well and give up some of the
easier little
some
fingers.
of the easy.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
Check it at the.
Velocity increase there. Faster tempo. I think they lost like the last diddle on the left or something, but overall really good.
Yeah, the quad riding
solid.
is very unique.
Yeah.
Just the patterns.
Good flam work.
Interesting, same hand.
Yeah, really good finish there with that denser phrase. I'd imagine that's probably their feature when they were exposed
Yeah,
up in the
yeah.
front, would be my guess.
That was kind of my overall generalization from the battery ensemble. Watching this show several times and just seeing this live video is that similar to a couple other groups, they really picked their spots as far as when to showcase variety and maybe demand, because when they weren't in front of the core, they definitely were playing stuff that they just didn't have to work on as much as from a consistency standpoint. The book overall to me feels like it was very reserved, which is kind of refreshing in some senses. Like, you know, you think of an indoor show where you listen to just pound, like 20 groups in a row. Then you get to a group that's playing light and textured and space, like, you know, like a Broken City, or I think of like what Freedom did in Independent Open last year, and you're like, oh, this is different. Like,
refreshing.
It sticks out, you know.
It's memorable.
For sure.
Yeah, no, I think they have to be pretty happy with their season. I think they should be happy with their season. I think they played really well in this video. Couple ticks here and there, but you know, everybody had ticks. And I will say, you talk about picking their spots. There's another group that did pretty well this season that we talked about picking their spots. Don't take that as an insult. Like, clearly,
I mean, that's what the Cavaliers did.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
that's a pretty good group to be.
What you're hinting at.
It's a pretty good group to be compared to. I mean, in your approach, because it clearly worked for them, and you all had a successful season. I mean, 9th place is nothing to sneeze at for a first-year staff.
I would anticipate that the off season and recruiting and the turnout this winter and fall for Phantom Regiment Percussion Ensemble will probably be significantly better than what we heard it was last year, just with more stability.
Well, they know what they're getting into.
More people knowing what they're getting into.
Exactly.
Like 2 years of success in a row for Matt Penland and team with what they did at Music City Drum and Bugle Corps last year, and what they did with Phantom this summer. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the program grow. And I was going to say, obviously, if you didn't know, Jeff Prospery's son is the center snare for this group we just watched. Since I'm pretty positive he's aging out, like he aged out, so he can't march anymore. The question is,
I think he's actually. I heard he's going to join the Hellcats with his dad.
I think he is, but the question I'm alluding to: are we going to get Prospery back as a judge next season? Because his son's not marching anymore.
He's a really good one.
Yep, he's one of the better ones, if not the best, honestly. I would imagine he'd come back and judge again if he's allowed to. I don't know why he wouldn't be allowed to. If there's some rule you got to wait even longer than you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's like a waiting period. I did hear that he may have like done some consulting and stuff with Phantom this summer, so I don't know if there's like
rules about
a waiting period with, like, you know, obviously there may be veterans in this group that return next year just to weed out any sort of bias. I mean, I wouldn't think
a little bit to an extent that are still going to be marching. Yeah, I guess maybe.
I would think that would be, not to go podcast mode, but I think that would be kind of silly of a rule, considering how many people that judge also just interact with kids in every ensemble or designers with every ensemble, whether they
And
teach with them during the winter or they work with them
exactly.
somewhere else. I mean,
There's plenty of judges that I guarantee are friends with people on almost all the staffs across the activity. So
and
I mean, it would be dumb if he wouldn't be able to come judge again right next
all
year.
the judges aged out of some drum corps somewhere
Yeah.
also. Like they're all alumni of somewhere and know Scott Johnson or Tom Rarick or Roger Carter. Or like, I mean, they know all these people, so they're friends.
So be interesting to see. Hopefully he does get back in the game and is allowed to. But like I said, I enjoyed Phantom this year. It was kind of a little bit of a subdued take on a drum corps battery book, but I think it worked. They competed well. I mean, they played really well in their dense moments, and good stuff, man. Good drum tuning, good staff, did a good job. Kudos to the kids. And again, comment, like, subscribe, hit the join button, patreon.com/agedoutpodcast, Facebook and Instagram, and we're also on TikTok now. And I think the next content we're doing is going to be sitting down with some of these arrangers, McIntosh, Rarick, Bettis, etc., and watching their groups. So be on the lookout for those in the near future, and we'll see everybody in the next one.
Peace.